Hello, welcome to today's Founder Insights. I'm here today with Binghua. How are you, Binghua?
I'm great. Thanks, Rob. Thanks for having me today.
No worries. Thank you so much for coming on. So, Binghua is an expert in government grants, and with all of my founder colleagues, customers, and friends out there, government grants is fairly murky waters for many. So I thought it was an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the government grants that are out there and hopefully provide some value to the founders out there today. So, Ingmar, let's just start with a little bit of an introduction. What's your background and yeah, what expertise have you got in this area?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Rob. So I actually have quite extensive experience in this grant space. I've been working in the corporate world for the last 9 years of my life. So I have a computer science bachelor degree as well as a master of accounting degree, and I'm also a chartered accountant in Australia. So that placed me in a really good position to understand the technical details of the tech founders, all the IT jargons like API, algorithms, and AI and stuff like that. But I can also use my tax legislation knowledge to help maximize the claim for client. So currently, I'm starting to work a bit more independently in the past couple of months. Just want to bring my expertise in grant space to help as much as tech startups as possible.
Yeah, fantastic. And that's a really good combination and probably not an overly common combination, the tech side with the accounting background. So
Mm,
I'm sure that's really valuable to tech founders out there. So when it comes to, let's just say the R&D grant, because I know that's a common one in terms of tech founders especially. What
mm.
are some of the things that they should be keeping an eye out in terms of ensuring their eligibility for that grant, and how would they best go about getting some assistance with that?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, there's definitely a lot to look out for when you're applying for an R&D grant. First, from an eligibility point of view, you have to have very good technical innovation in the space in terms of new knowledge. So that's new processes, new algorithms, something that's currently not exist in the market. And you also have to meet technical innovation, technical unknown criteria. So that means a competent professional, for example, a developer in the field for at least 5 years experience wouldn't have known the outcome before you actually conduct the R&D activity. So a good rule of thumb is if you ask your developer, is this development is going to cause like sleepless nights or like some emotional pain for them, it's not going to be smooth sailing. That's a pretty good indicator that's potentially eligible for R&D. So in terms of the other side, so once you have meet all the criteria, you also need to keep really good record. So this way, when the event of an audit happens, whether that's from ATO, from expenditure side of things, or us industry from the actual technical eligibility side of things, they might ask for all sorts of documents from you that includes like the meeting minutes, your design of your algorithm, any like email correspondence with the R&D experts, stuff like that, to actually put yourself in a very defendable position. So that's one thing a lot of tech founders need to get engaged with an R&D consultant very early on to ensure they have a really smooth R&D record keeping process to minimize any risk in the event of an audit.
Yeah, fantastic. So it sounds like
Mm,
there's kind of two sides to it.
yeah,
It's make sure your developers aren't sleeping at night,
yeah.
and then make sure you're keeping an eye on tracking all of the information so that you can support your case should the need arise. So, in terms of that, then, is there anything? So, you mentioned getting advice from an R&D
Mm,
consultant, such as yourself. Are there
mm,
any sort of technical solutions out there that you know of that can help, particularly on the record keeping side,
mm.
in ensuring that you've got all of that information? Is there anything that you've used in that space before, or any advice you'd give on how best to go about uh, keeping track of all of that information?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, so I often see two approaches from tech startup founders. Some of them will actually use some automation tools. I think currently one of the biggest in Australia is called Cinch. SYNCHNN, I think that's the name. I have to double check on that. But they are an automation tool where you can just log your R&D records, whether that's expenditure, so that's timesheet per employee basis, or whether that's the technical details, so you can actually put your new knowledge, your development experimental process from hypothesis all the way down to conclusion. So they have a quite comprehensive system there to use. But a lot of other founders, they actually just keep everything in a manual or like in Excel spreadsheets or Google documents, just whatever records keeping process you're using, as long as you're putting enough time and keep making sure it's consistent across the whole development process, that will all be fine. So yeah, it really depends on what works best for your organization.
Yeah, fantastic. And in terms of the R&D grant itself, I mean, are
Mm.
you able to shed a little bit of light as to exactly what it is and what founders could expect to get in terms of that grant?
Yeah, definitely. So R&D grant is actually a, very good grant for, especially for the tech startups. So it's almost an Australian flagship program in terms of encouraging small to mid-sized companies to engage in innovative R&D activities. So it is a program co-administered by both the Aus Industry as well as ATO. So like I mentioned earlier, Aus Industry will be looking after the technical quality from the project. So whether you're meeting the technical new knowledge, technical unknown, scientific process, that criteria, whereas ATO look after the expenditure side, whether your expenditure is actually eligible from R&D perspective. So in terms of the benefit, it's a actually great project program, because for small companies, especially in the startup space, first couple of years is usually in a tax loss position. Then every dollar you spend, you get 43.5% back in cash if you're in a tax loss position, and that tax loss is going to be large enough to cover all your R&D expenditure. Whereas for larger companies, that becomes a two-tiered approach where your R&D rebate percentage is a bit lower than 43.5% back. So it's coming in twofolds. For small companies, it's higher; for bigger companies, is lower. But both, no matter what size it is, it's a really great program to get a lot of the tax incentive benefit from the government.
Yeah, fantastic. And
Mm.
is there any other sort of advice you would give to founders out there, just to really give them a solid understanding of whether or not they'd be eligible for this type of grant?
Yeah, yeah. So I think maybe like the best way, because I come from a computer science background and most of our clients are in the tech space. So I think one great way to like consider is your development, is your algorithm actually a lot of customization, a lot of innovation included, or whether that's a simple copy and paste from some GitHub code or Stack Overflow code and just with some minimal adaptation. Then if it is a latter, then it's probably not going to be R&D. But if you're, like I said, if there's causing sleeplessness for developer, or there's a lot of like customization, there's a lot of innovative codes and you can't really find it somewhere else, then that's a very high chance yours might be eligible for R&D.
Yeah, fantastic. That's great advice. Thank you for that. All
Can I
right.
add on that actually as well, Rob?
Yeah.
So another thing is, I think, like currently AI, I guess, is the very trendy word right now from a tech space. So Austin is recently actually have an open discussion with us R&D consultants, and they mentioned very specifically that not all AI development is going to be automatically R&D. So so all comes down to the actual technical side. So for example, if the AI development you're conducting, it's for example, you're just interfacing with GPT-4 model, or you're using the Gen AI model, you're just putting a skin on top of it, then that's not really actual development from yourself. It's more like you're doing simple adaptation from existing technology, which is not meeting the R&D criteria. Yeah, so I thought I'll add that as well.
Yeah, no, that's very, very important information. There's so many AI solutions out there, so it's
Mm,
it's good to know it's not a guarantee of eligibility.
yeah, for sure.
Beautiful. All right, Binghua. Well, is there any last thing that you'd like to add that might be useful for our founders out there before we finish up today?
Yeah, I think I pretty much covered the basic points. I think, like I mentioned, it's great to engage with an R&D consultant early on, just so you know how you can potentially scope your R&D activity, what is eligible, what is considered as business as per usual, and on the other hand, also keep a really good record keeping process so you are minimizing the risk for your company when you're applying for R&D. Yeah, I'll probably end with those two notes. Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, fantastic. All right.
Mm.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Binghua. It's been great to chat, and I'm sure there's many founders out there who will benefit greatly from your insight. So thank you for coming on today.
Thank you so much, Rob. See ya. Bye.
See you later. Bye.